I still remember the night Jessica left. I remember the way her heels clicked on the wooden floor, the echo dragging itself across the walls of our apartment, marking the distance between us and everything I thought I had. She looked at me with that same half-smile she always wore when she was about to wound me and said, "I can't marry a dreamer who can't provide. I need someone real, someone who has stability, who can give me what I want." I froze. My coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor, pieces scattering like my heartbeat. "Jessica, wait." "What are you saying?" My voice cracked. I sounded smaller than I ever had in my life. She sighed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're sweet. I'll give you that. But sweet doesn't pay bills. Sweet doesn't buy a house. Sweet doesn't give me the life I want." Her eyes softened for a second, but it was only a mask. "Ryan can give me that. He's real. He's practical." I couldn't breathe. Practical? So all those nights we stayed up talking about our dreams, our plans, none of it mattered? My voice rose, sharp with disbelief. She shrugged. "Dreams are cute until they don't work." "I'm not saying I don't care about you, but I need more than words." She took a step closer, and then another, the scent of her perfume twisting, into a memory I'd never forget. "I'm sorry, really, but I have to go." I tried to stop her, my hands trembling. "Jessica, please, don't do this. We can make it work. I'm almost there. I just need a little more time." Her laugh was quiet but cruel. "Time isn't enough for me. I need certainty, not hope." She shook her head, her lips curving into a smile that felt like a blade. And with that, she walked out, leaving the door swinging gently behind her. Carrying my heart with it, I sank to the floor, staring at the empty doorway. I could still see the shadow of her figure in the hallway, hear the faint hum of her car, engine starting, fading into the night. I wanted to scream, to chase her, to beg her to see that I was more than she thought. But no sound came. Just silence, heavy and suffocating. My parents called that night. Mom's voice was soft but full of worry. "Honey, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" I laughed bitterly into the phone. "Okay. Do I sound okay?" Dad's voice joined hers, calm but condescending. "Son, these things happen. She's probably better off with someone who can provide." "Better off?" That cut deeper than Jessica's words. You think I can't provide?" I spat the words like venom, though my throat ached. "You've seen me work my ass off. You've seen the hours I put in, the sweat, the late nights. You think I can't make a life for myself?" Silence. "Son," Mom said finally, almost pleading, "we just want you to be happy. Maybe this isn't the right person for you right now." I hung up. I couldn't hear another word of pity. It was poison, the kind that settles into your chest and makes it impossible to breathe. I sank further onto the floor, surrounded by the remnants of our shared life, the broken coffee mug, a half-empty bottle of wine. My laptop opened to a draft of a business proposal that now felt meaningless. I thought of Ryan, his car, his steady paycheck, his effortless charm. I hated him. Before I even knew him, I hated him for walking into my life and taking everything I loved, for smiling at her like he'd always had a claim to her, for making me feel small in a way I hadn't thought possible. I pressed my palms to my face, trying to block out the world, trying to stop the images of her leaving, her laugh, the sound of the car fading into the distance. I wanted to curl up and disappear, to let the night swallow me whole. But somewhere in the pit of despair, something stirred. I remembered. Every night I stayed up working, building something that wasn't yet tangible but was mine. I remembered every plan we made, every dream I'd shared with her, every promise I'd whispered to myself. And then I whispered again, louder this time, my voice breaking but resolute. I won't let her think she won. I stayed on the floor. Until the early hours, letting the city lights blur against the window. I made no promises to her. I made no pleas to fate. I made one promise to myself. I would rise. I would prove that I was not a nobody, that my dreams were not childish, that the man she abandoned was not the man she left behind. The betrayal burned, yes. It was a fire that could have consumed me, could have buried me under layers of bitterness and regret. But instead, it ignited something else, something sharper, colder, more relentless. A need not just to survive, but to rise, to dominate the life I had envisioned, to make sure the people who doubted me, Jessica, Ryan, and even my parents could see the man I was becoming. By sunrise, I wasn't lying on the floor anymore. I was standing, knees stiff, body aching, mind racing with possibilities. I was scared, furious, broken but not defeated. The night she left me had taken everything I thought I had, and yet it had given me something else, a fire I could never extinguish, and I would use it. Days passed like gray water, flowing endlessly. With no light to guide me, I woke up, stared at the ceiling, and tried to convince myself that maybe this nightmare was temporary. But each morning, Jessica's words echoed louder than the alarm. "You're a dreamer who can't provide." I felt the sting in every syllable, her laughter imprinted in my skull. "Hey, Marcus said one evening, sliding onto my couch without waiting for an invitation. His usual grin was gone, replaced by something serious, almost desperate. "You've been holed up for too long, man. You're letting her get under your skin more than she should." I didn't answer. I stared at the floor, listening to the faint hum of the fridge and the city outside my window. "Look, I know it hurts," he continued, leaning forward, elbows on knees. "I get it. But bro, you're better than this. You're letting her. Words define you. That's not you." "Better than this?" I scoffed, voice cracking. "I'm 27, living in a rented shoebox. No girlfriend. No job that matters. No investors. It's nothing. I'm a joke, Marcus." She was right. Marcus shook his head, frustrated. No, she was wrong. She saw what she wanted and she took it. That's on her, not you. You've got talent, drive, you just need to remember who you are. I laughed bitterly, a hollow sound that made me flinch. Drive? Talent. Right now I'm drowning in overdue. Bills and rejection letters. Every door I knock on slams shut. And my parents. They just shake their heads, sigh, pity me. "They're scared for you," Marcus said softly. "But that doesn't mean you can't fight back." I buried my face in my hands. Fight back. How I can't even get out of bed some days without feeling like the world's laughing at me. Marcus stood, suddenly intense. He grabbed my shoulders and turned me toward the bathroom mirror. "Look at me," he said. I obeyed, though my stomach twisted. "You see that guy staring back? The one with the eyes full of doubt?" He jabbed a finger at the reflection. "He's letting everyone, including her, win. Do you want to stay their victim? Or do you want to make them choke on your success?" I flinched at his words, harsh, brutal, but beneath the sting, something stirred. "I don't even know where to start," I whispered, voice trembling. "Start by remembering why you started," Marcus said, softer now. "The nights you stayed up dreaming, coding, planning. You weren't thinking about them then, were you? You were thinking about building something bigger than your circumstances, bigger than her leaving, bigger than anyone who doubted you." I shook my head, biting my lip to hold back tears. "It all feels useless now." "It's not useless," he insisted. "You just need perspective. You've been staring at the end of the tunnel, bro, but maybe it's time to turn around and see the start. The start is still there, waiting for you to run at it." I swallowed hard, trying to breathe past the lump in my throat. "And if I fail," Marcus smirked, though it didn't reach his eyes, "then you fail. But at least you'll have tried. At least you'll know you didn't let her or anyone define your life. That's all that matters right now." That weight of his words settled in my chest. I'd been letting everyone dictate my worth, Jessica, Ryan, even my parents. I had been a passenger in my own life, letting circumstances steer me off course. And for what? For the illusion of comfort. For approval? I ran my hands through my hair, feeling a mixture of anger and shame, but also determination. "Can't keep lying here, Marcus. I can't. I have to. I have to do something." "Exactly," he said, clapping a hand on my shoulder. "Something. Start small, but start. Write down your plan. Call an investor. Rebuild. Show them that you're more than they think you are." I stared at my reflection again, The man who looked back at me, tired, defeated, broken, beginning to feel different. Not whole yet, but awake, alive, angry. I'm going to try, I said finally. A whisper, but it carried weight. I can't stay here. I can't let her think she won. Marcus grinned. Genuine this time. There you go. That's the guy I know. Now, let's map out your next move before you change your mind. We spent hours scribbling notes on napkins. The hotel lobby smelled of bleach and desperation. I wiped down the counter for the 5th time that night, trying to ignore the buzzing neon sign outside that reminded me how far I'd fallen. Not bad for a first week, a voice said behind me. I turned and saw her, Emma, the night manager. She was leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, eyes sharp. I've seen a lot of temp workers, kids who quit after 2 nights, but you're still here. I shrugged, trying to look casual. Bills don't pay themselves. She smirked. That's true. But there's more to staying than just paying bills. You've got focus. Intensity. I can see it. Focus. I laughed bitterly. You mean desperation? Probably. It's easier to call it focus than admit you're scared every day. Emma tilted her head, studying me. Maybe. Or maybe it's determination. People underestimate the difference until it's too late. I froze for a second. Too late. It's that phrase. Echoed in my mind, but I masked it with a nod. Determination, then. Good. I like determination. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Look, I don't usually mentor temp workers, but there's something about you. Maybe it's that fire in your eyes or the way you win. Don't quit even when it sucks. I respect that. I felt a flicker of pride, brief and fleeting. Thanks. I appreciate that. I just need to get through the night without screwing up, really. She chuckled. You won't, but don't. Get too comfortable. The night shifts teach you a lot more than how to check guests in and out. I leaned back against the counter, exhausted, and admitted, I'm learning that already. Patience. People skills, and apparently humility. Emma raised an eyebrow. Humility? Yeah, I muttered. I've never had to serve coffee. To people who treat you like you're invisible, this makes you realize what matters and what doesn't. Makes you stronger, I guess. She nodded slowly. Exactly. And if you use it right, those small experiences can become your advantage. I laughed softly, almost to myself. Advantage. Right now, I feel like I'm just trying to survive. Survival is a start, she said. But I can see you want more. I've got a feeling you're not done yet. I hesitated, weighing my words. I'm not done. Not with this life. Not with people who think they can push me down and walk away. Emma's expression softened. I get that. But don't let it consume you. Anger can be useful, but it can also blind you. I know, I whispered. But it's hard to ignore when you're reminded every day. I pulled out my phone, scrolling past Ryan's smug posts. Him and Jessica laughing at some restaurant. Him posting stories about his perfect life. I felt bile rise. Seeing them happy, it hurts. His hand rested briefly on my shoulder. Then use it. Let it push you forward instead of holding you back. You've got talent and grit. Don't waste it on resentment. Her words settled in me like coals in a fireplace. Slowly, I felt the spark she was talking about catch. The night passed in a blur of check-ins, complaints and odd hours. Between guest complaints about broken TVs and misplaced towels, I found myself thinking, strategizing even. What could I do with this patience, this insight into people, this resilience that the job was forcing me to build? I caught myself analyzing. The guests, the staff, even Emma. Every interaction was a lesson. Every problem, a chance to sharpen my mind. Every long, quiet hour of cleaning floors or checking receipts was a reminder. I could endure. I could adapt. When I climbed back up, I would do it smarter, stronger, better. Hey, Emma's voice cut through my thoughts. You're staring? Like the world's going to end if a guest complains. Relax. It's just part of the night. I smiled faintly. Yeah, just thinking about strategy. How to survive this and still get ahead. She leaned against the counter beside me. Not a bad mindset. Most people just complain or quit. You're noticing patterns, learning rules. That's rare in temp staff. You're calculating. I felt a rush of satisfaction. Calculating, huh? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just paying attention to what matters. You know, like knowing who's real, who isn't, who's going to help you, and who's just passing through. Emma's eyes softened. You're learning fast. I have a feeling you're going to go places. Just don't lose yourself in the process. I won't, I said firmly. I can't afford to. Not anymore. Every shift I work here, every hour I spend cleaning or serving, it's fuel. I'm taking it, learning from it, and using it. One day, they'll see. They'll all see. Emma gave me a small, knowing smile. Keep that fire, but keep your eyes open too. Some lessons come from paying attention to the quiet stuff, not the loud battles. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and clarity. Thanks, Emma, for noticing, for guiding. Even a little. She shrugged. I've seen plenty of people give up before the first week ends. You're not one of them. That's all. The notice I need. I left the lobby in the early hours, exhausted but awake in a way I hadn't been in months. The city lights blurred past my tired eyes, but inside me a fire was growing. I was learning, adapting, surviving, and slowly. The pieces of my life I thought were shattered were starting to fit together. Ryan and Jessica didn't know it yet. But every night I spent here, every shift I endured, was a step closer to proving them wrong. And Emma? She might just be the first person who sees me rising, not just surviving. I clenched my fists in my pocket, staring at my reflection in the taxi window. I'm not their victim, not anymore, not for long. And for the first time in months, I believed it. The hotel was quieter than usual that night, and I took it as my chance to improve things. I rearranged the check-in process, streamlined the inventory logs, and even found a quicker way to prep the breakfast trays. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was mine, and I could see the results immediately. Hey, Emma said as she walked past, clipboard in hand, the new system. I can actually breathe now instead of chasing receipts every 5 minutes. Nice job, I smirked, feeling a flicker of pride. Thanks. I figured if I fixed the little things, the big things might start to sort themselves out. Leaned against the counter, watching me. You're serious about this, huh? Not many would bother with night operations for long. I'm serious about proving something, I muttered. About showing I can handle more than just whatever they think I'm capable of. Emma nodded slowly, as if she understood something I hadn't even said out loud. I get that. It's subtle, but it's noticed. People see effort even. When they don't say it, I chuckled quietly. Hopefully. Because every time Ryan posts something about his perfect life, or Jessica posts a picture of them together at some fancy dinner, it reminds me why I can't stop. Emma raised an eyebrow. You let them bother you that much? It's not bothering me, I corrected, feeling my jaw tighten. It's fuel. I'm not the guy who sits and cries. I use it. Makes me sharper. Good, she said. Then you're learning. That's important. The hotel's general manager walked by just then, clipboard in hand and eyebrows raised. I hear some guests have noticed the improvements. Seems the night shift is actually organized now. Impressive work. I straightened, trying not to grin. Too widely. Thanks. Just trying to make the best of it. Keep it up, he said, nodding once before moving on. His approval felt like a small trophy. One more notch in a life that had felt hollow for months. After my shift ended, I stepped outside into the chilly night, phone in hand. Social media had a way of reminding me that the world didn't pause for my struggles. Ryan had posted a photo with Jessica, both of them smiling at a candlelit restaurant, glasses raised. I stared at it longer than I should have. The morning started like any other. I arrived at the hotel before sunrise, coffee in hand, determined to keep the night improvements rolling into the day shift. Everything seemed in order until the phone rang. Front desk, how may I help you? I said, picking up the receiver. I'm very upset. The voice spat through the line. I reserved the penthouse suite for tonight, and your staff promised it would be ready by 5. It's not, and I'm a VIP client. I froze. My heart sank. This was a guest who could ruin us with a single social media post or call. Apologize. Let me check the status immediately. I hustled to the penthouse floor, and sure enough, the room wasn't ready. Linens missing, minibar unstocked, and housekeeping running late. Damn it, I muttered under my breath. Emma appeared behind me, calm but alert. What's wrong, VIP guest? I hissed. Room isn't ready. This could destroy our reputation. Emma frowned, but her voice was steady. Okay. Step 1. Apologize sincerely. Step 2. Find a solution fast. You're not alone in this. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I apologize. I walked into the lobby, approaching the guest. Mr. Lawson, I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. We'll have your room ready within the hour, and I'll personally ensure everything is perfect. He scowled, but nodded. I better not see a repeat. I returned to the staff room, feeling like my chest was being crushed. How did this happen? We were supposed to check every reservation in advance. Marcus's voice cut through my panic over the phone. Hey, slow down. You can't control every mistake, but you can. Control how you handle it. Fix it. Learn from it. Move forward. I groaned. I feel like I'm failing again. Every step forward, something pulls me back 2 steps. Listen, Marcus said firmly. Failure is temporary. Character is permanent. Remember why you started. You're not quitting now, are you? Clenched my fists. No, I'm not. Quitting. Not today. Emma stepped closer, her eyes focused. I'll organize housekeeping. You focus on VIP prep. I trust you can handle it. I nodded, grateful. Thanks. I don't know what I'd do without you guys. She smiled faintly. That's why we're here. Don't lose sight of why you started. I rushed to the room with the housekeeping team, double-checking every detail, adjusting the linens, replenishing the minibar, making sure nothing was overlooked. Sweat beaded on my forehead, but I refused to let exhaustion show. When Mr. Lawson returned, I met him at the door. Sir, your suite is ready, and I've personally inspected everything. He opened the door, looked around, and finally, after a tense moment, nodded. Much better. I appreciate the effort. Don't let this happen again, I exhaled, relief mixing with lingering anger at the setback. Another night, another challenge, but at least I'd survived this one. Later, during a quiet moment, I scrolled. Through social media, Ryan had posted again, grinning in front of his new car, captioned, "Weekend with the love of my life." Dreams do pay off. I clenched my jaw. The world mocked me again, showing every contrast between his stability and my chaos. But anger alone wouldn't solve anything. Marcus's text appeared. Don't waste energy on him. Channel it into your own growth. Remember your plan. I typed back, trying harder every day. This setback. It won't stop me. Emma appeared at the back office doorway. Everything okay? I gestured toward the social media post. It's just him. Reminding me how behind I feel. She shook her head gently. Don't measure yourself against them. Measure yourself against who you were yesterday. You handled a crisis today. Most people would have melted down. I let out a shaky laugh. Yeah, we handled it. But I keep thinking about the next move. I need to protect the hotel, and maybe in some way I need to plan for them. Emma raised an eyebrow. Planning is good. Obsessing isn't. Don't let revenge consume you entirely. I know, I admitted, but it feels satisfying to imagine the day it all evens out. Marcus called me that evening. Talk to me. How did it go? I ran a hand through my hair. The room got fixed. VIP satisfied. But the anxiety, the mistake, it's like a punch to the gut. Exactly. And you survived. That's resilience. That's growth. Write down every lesson tonight. Use it. Don't waste energy regretting the mistake itself. I nodded. Pacing my small apartment later that night, my mind buzzing with contingencies, strategies, and revenge plans. Slow, steady, I muttered. Fix one thing at a time. One night, one challenge. Emma's words echoed, reminding me of what mattered. Focus on who you're becoming. I grabbed a notebook, writing down each possible improvement, each potential problem, each way to turn adversity into advantage. Ryan's life, Jessica's smug posts, they were distractions. Tools, maybe, to keep the fire alive. But my path forward was mine. By 3 a.m., I was exhausted, but awake, thinking, planning, and refusing to let one setback define me. The hotel, my reputation, my future, everything depended on my resolve tonight. And Marcus's voice lingered. In my mind, failure is temporary. Character is permanent. I repeated it like a mantra. Failure is temporary. Character is permanent. And in that quiet, sleepless night, I realized something crucial. No misstep, no VIP complaint, no social media. Brag would stop me. I would survive, grow, and rise. And when the time came, those who laughed at me would taste the consequences of underestimating the man they left behind. The night passed slowly, filled with plans, revisions, and a renewed sense of purpose. Wasn't defeated, not even close. Every setback was a stepping stone. By sunrise, I knew I was already one step closer to reclaiming everything. I wasn't ready for the shock. One ordinary morning, I was checking the night audit reports when Marcus called. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "What is it?" I asked, suspicion creeping in. "Ryan," he paused for effect. "He's working at your hotel. Nights. Full time. Apparently Jessica thinks he's a real man now." I dropped the clipboard. "What? How is that even possible?" Marcus laughed softly, almost cruelly. "Trust me, it's true. She's proud, he's smugged, and you have a golden opportunity." I rubbed my temples. The anger bubbled up instantly. A golden opportunity to what? Watch him rearrange towels better than me? "No, genius," Marcus said. "This is leverage. Observation. Study his routines. Notice weaknesses, and then quietly outshine." Him, Emma, who had been passing by, overheard and raised an eyebrow. "Leverage?" she asked, half teasing, half serious. I explained everything. "Marcus says we can turn this to our advantage. If Ryan falters, Jessica sees him for what he really is." Emma folded her arms. "I can help track metrics, guest satisfaction, staff feedback, service times. Numbers don't lie. You want evidence? You'll get it." That night, I started paying attention to Ryan. He walked through the lobby with exaggerated confidence, forced smiles plastered on his face. I noticed how he hesitated when a guest asked a question he wasn't prepared for. I noted his routines, towel arrangements, minibar checks, interactions with the staff. There was arrogance in his steps, but mistakes in his execution. "See that?" I whispered to Marcus during a quick check-in call. "He thinks he's smooth. Look at him fumbling with the registration system." Marcus chuckled. "Exactly. And now, you play it smart. Quiet, effective, undeniable." The next morning, I implemented subtle changes. I streamlined the night check-in process, prepped amenities in advance, and coordinated housekeeping to stay one step ahead. Emma ran the analytics in the background, feeding me real-time guest feedback. "Mr. Daniels," she said, "during our mid-shift huddle, guest satisfaction scores are up 20% since you adjusted the night routines. Ryan's numbers are flat or dipping slightly." I felt a small surge of triumph. "Good. Keep tracking. Any slip-up, I want it documented." One evening, I approached Ryan casually at the staff lounge. "Need help with the minibar layout?" I asked, my tone light, friendly. He looked me up and down, jaw tight. "I've got it under control," I smiled. "Sure, just offering. Sometimes an extra pair of eyes helps." He muttered something under his breath and walked off. I made a note, defensive, insecure, already feeling the pressure. Later, Marcus texted, "Patience, quiet wins. Let him unravel on his own," I repeated. The words like a mantra, watching Ryan over the course of several shifts. Small mistakes piled up. A missed towel replacement, a delayed guest response, even minor errors in housekeeping logs. I didn't intervene overtly. I let the system show him up. Emma tapped my shoulder one night. "Look at these metrics." She handed me a tablet. Graphs showed rising guest satisfaction, faster check-ins, more positive comments mentioning staff. Professionalism. Your quiet efficiency is winning. People notice, even if they don't say it aloud. I leaned back, letting a satisfied smile creep across my face. It's beautiful watching it happen naturally. No shouting, no confrontation. Just competence, Marcus called again. I assume Jessica's still flaunting Ryan on social media? Of course, I said bitterly. Dinner pictures, vacations, captions about being stable and reliable. It's sickening. But now I see the opportunity. She thinks she made the right choice, but Ryan's flaws are on display every night. Good. Keep letting her think she's winning, Marcus advised. The fall is more satisfying when it's inevitable. I spent nights mapping out small improvements in service. Check-in scripts tweaked for efficiency, housekeeping rotations optimized. I noticed it the moment Ryan lingered at the front desk a little too long, pretending to help but really just watching me. He shuffled papers with a deliberate clumsiness, eyes flicking toward the check-in terminal. "You're watching too closely," I said casually, sliding a folder across the counter. Ryan smiled, tight-lipped. "Just making sure everything runs smoothly. Wouldn't want any mistakes slipping past you, right?" I raised an eyebrow, keeping my tone neutral. "I appreciate the concern, really, but I've got this under control." He chuckled, a low, forced sound, of course. "You always seem efficient." "Thanks," I said smoothly, hiding the satisfaction I felt inside. The longer he tried to appear casual, the more obvious his insecurity became. Later, Emma appeared at my side, tablet in hand. "Ryan's subtly undermining you," she said quietly. "He's checking numbers, trying to anticipate your moves, but nothing's failing. You're still ahead." I nodded, glancing toward Ryan, who was nervously adjusting the lobby decorations. "Good. Let him burn energy on shadows. Meanwhile, we keep improving." Marcus called later, his voice brimming with encouragement. "You're handling this beautifully. Let him flounder. Quiet poise wins more than confrontation ever could." I smirked, thinking of how different this felt from the early days, me trembling, lost, unsure. Now, I had control, patience, and strategy. The real twist came when Jessica casually walked into the hotel lobby one afternoon, her heels clicking against the marble floors. She carried that confident smile she always had, the one that made me want to throw something across the room years ago. "Jessica," I said smoothly, straightening my jacket. "Nice to see you," she blinked, pretending to be casual. "I was just in the neighborhood. Thought I'd check in." I gestured toward the front desk. "Of course. Can I help you with anything?" "No," she said lightly, scanning the lobby. "Just curious how things are running here. I heard you were doing well." I nodded, neutral. "We're keeping everything efficient and professional. Guests seem happy." She tilted her head, studying me. There was a brief flash of surprise in her eyes. She hadn't expected me to be in command. Composed, in control. Ryan stepped forward, trying to intercept. Jess, maybe I should." I held up a hand, friendly but firm. "It's fine, Ryan. She's welcome." Ryan faltered, his usual confidence cracking. He muttered something under his breath and stepped back. Trailing behind her, I watched Jessica move through the lobby, staff discreetly complimenting me under their breaths. One housekeeper whispered, "He's doing a great job." Another front desk clerk smiled, saying, "He's been amazing lately, so organized." Jessica paused, looking at me again. "Seems like everything's under control," she said softly, a hint of unease in her voice. I offered a polite nod. "Yes. Night operations have improved. Staff is motivated. Guests are happy." She tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly. "I didn't realize you were capable of handling all this." I kept my expression neutral, but inside, satisfaction surged. No shouting, no drama, no confrontation, just quiet competence, speaking louder than words. After she left, I turned to Emma. Notice the tension, I asked. She nodded. It's perfect. She thinks she's in control, but you're the one who's actually running things. Ryan's pride is cracking, and she's starting to feel it too. Marcus chimed in over the phone. Exactly, that's the essence of revenge. Let them witness your rise while they feel powerless. You're not doing it to humiliate them. It's about undeniable progress. I leaned back in my chair, letting the thoughts sink in. Revenge wasn't about yelling or confrontation. It was about quiet, strategic escalation. Every small success, every compliment from staff, every metric improving it was all evidence. She couldn't ignore the next few days. Ryan tried subtle sabotage, questioning decisions, suggesting unnecessary changes, inserting himself into operations. I responded calmly, professionally, and decisively. Ryan, I said during one shift, I appreciate your input. Let's test it with the next guest feedback cycle and see how it works. Metrics don't lie. He gritted his teeth but said, Nothing. Emma smiled from across the lobby. Every time you stay calm and measured, you win. People notice, even when they don't say it aloud. I caught myself smiling quietly. It was working. Staff were respecting my leadership more. Guests were happier, and Ryan's flustered attempts only highlighted his inadequacy. Jessica's visits, though casual, reminded me that the karmic timing was perfect. Marcus called again that evening. How's it feeling? Strange, I admitted. Seeing them both, knowing they thought they could outshine me, and realizing they're powerless to stop what I'm building. Satisfying, but quiet, calm. Better than I imagined. Exactly, Marcus said. That calm is power. Keep it, don't rush. Let them watch you grow while they crumble in their assumptions. I glanced at the lobby once more, where Ryan was fumbling with a minor task. Visibly irritated, and staff glanced toward me for guidance. Emma handed me updated metrics. Guest satisfaction rising, minor complaints down, efficiency up. I let out a soft breath, the smirk creeping onto my face. Marcus was right. This wasn't about confrontation. It was about mastery. And every time Jessica saw it, every time Ryan faltered quietly, I felt the subtle shift, the karmic balance tilting in my favor. The hotel wasn't just a workplace anymore, it was a stage. I was centerstage.com. Professional and utterly untouchable. By the end of the week, the numbers spoke for themselves. The staff whispered compliments, Ryan's errors were documented, and Jessica's casual visits only highlighted the gap between perception and reality. I sent a message to Marcus. It's happening. Quietly. Perfectly. He replied instantly. Patience. The best revenge is slow, undeniable, and silent. I looked around. The lobby one last time that night, the soft hum of activity filling the space. Quiet power, subtle observation, relentless efficiency. That was my weapon. And I knew finally the tide had shifted. The silent war was being won. One shift, one decision, one smirk at a time. I heard it before I saw it, the murmurs from the ballroom. The catered event for a high-profile client was spiraling, and Ryan was fumbling through it like a man walking blindfolded over broken glass. Tables aren't aligned. The main course is delayed. What did you even confirm? I muttered, under my breath, as I stepped toward the entrance. Ryan glanced up, forcing a smile. I've got it covered. I raised an eyebrow, letting the words hang in the air. Covered? I asked, tone calm, but sharp. It looks like chaos covered. He shuffled papers, checking the schedule again. I think the florist got confused, and the caterers, I cut him off. Don't think. Fix it. He froze, staring at me. That little spark of panic in his eyes was satisfying. Not from cruelty, but from justice. Karma doesn't need to yell. It whispers and it hits where it hurts. Emma appeared at my side, notebook clutched in her hand. Do you want me to start reorganizing the tables? She asked. Her voice was calm, but efficient. I nodded, giving her a small smile. Yes, follow my lead. Quietly, we can fix this before anyone notices. Marcus, who had been observing from the sidelines, whispered into my ear, This is your moment. No heroics, just control. Let him crumble naturally. I moved into the ballroom, surveying the chaos. Staff were running between stations, guests murmuring confusion. Ryan was attempting to manage, but doing everything half-heartedly. A smile plastered where competence should have been. Emma, start with the tables near the stage. Move the centerpieces closer to the middle, I instructed, walking through the room like it was my stage. Marcus, help coordinate the servers. Step in with calm authority, not panic. Ryan followed me, trying to insert himself between me and the staff. I've got this, he said, voice trembling slightly. I gave him a polite nod. I'm sure you do. But for now, step aside. Guests noticed stress, not excuses. He stepped back, muttering under his breath, and I felt the tide shift. Every movement I made was deliberate, every instruction measured. The chaos was transforming into quiet efficiency, as if my presence alone rewrote the room's energy. One guest whispered, "Who's leading this? Everything seems smooth now." Another nodded. Yes, someone's fixing the issues without even looking stressed. Jessica was near the entrance, hands lightly clutching her clutch. She watched the room, her smile polite but confused. "What's happening?" she murmured to a colleague. I stepped by, calm and controlled. "The event is under control," I said softly, not even turning fully to her. "Everything will proceed smoothly." She looked at me for a fraction longer than necessary, a fleeting recognition in her eyes. But she didn't understand my role yet. The irony wasn't lost on me. The one who walked away thinking I couldn't handle life was now the unseen authority in the room she scrutinized. Emma gave me a discreet nod. Tables are aligned, the catering is back on schedule, and the staff is following orders. She said quietly. "Perfect," I whispered back. "Let them think they did it themselves. Influence without interference." Marcus grinned from across the room. "Look at Ryan. He's fuming, but can't do a thing without creating more problems." Classic. I watched Ryan try to redirect. A server only to have the plate spill slightly. Small accidental mistake. Nothing dangerous, but enough to make him panic. The guests barely noticed, because I had already compensated, redirecting traffic and subtly stepping in to smooth. "The disruption, sir? Is everything okay?" Guest asked, noticing Ryan's awkward attempts. I noticed it the moment Jessica walked into the hotel lobby, her heels clicking against the polished marble. She paused mid-step, scanning the room as if expecting chaos. And I felt a quiet thrill. "Marcus," I muttered under my breath, glancing. At him, he raised an eyebrow, knowing instantly what I was thinking. "She's here," he said softly, trying to sound casual. "Try not to make it obvious." I didn't need to. Jessica already looked unsettled. Her eyes darted to the front desk, where a guest was thanking me personally for a smooth check-in. "Really? You made all this so effortless?" the guest said, smiling warmly. "You're amazing." I offered a modest nod. "Just doing my job." Jessica's lips pressed into a thin line. She hadn't expected to see me in control. Her assumed victim turned quiet authority. She glanced at Ryan, who was awkwardly hovering nearby, clearly trying to act busy. "Everything okay?" she asked a bit too casually, like she was trying to act unconcerned. I didn't reply immediately. I simply smiled faintly, letting her anxiety simmer while I focused on the guests. The silence said more than any words could. Marcus leaned close. "Let her watch," he whispered. "She'll figure it out. No need to tell her." I followed his advice. The guests kept coming, praising the service, complimenting the ambiance. Each word of admiration was a hammer on the fragile ego I remembered. From months ago, the one she had ignored when she left me for Ryan, Emma appeared beside me, clipboard in hand, nodding silently. She didn't need to speak. Her expression said it all. This was my moment. Quiet, composed, unstoppable. Jessica's gaze kept flicking from me to Ryan and back. The realization was slowly dawning. She had assumed Ryan's competence was superior, that I was replaceable. But now, the evidence was clear. A guest approached, handing me a tablet. I just posted about my stay. I hope you don't mind. You deserve recognition. I accepted it gracefully. Thank you. I appreciate it. Jessica's eyes widened slightly. She saw the social media post pop up on the lobby screen, highlighting my initiative in handling a minor rooming error earlier that week. Ryan's name wasn't mentioned. My face alone represented competence. You did all of this? She asked, voice low, almost disbelieving. I nodded subtly. The team works hard, and I make sure everything flows smoothly. She glanced at Ryan, who was trying and failing to project authority. His shoulders slumped when a server approached me for instructions, not him. The shift in dynamics was unmistakable, and Jessica's expression flickered between shock and regret. Marcus smirked behind me. See, no confrontation needed? Just let her feel it. I allowed a quiet chuckle. It wasn't gloating. It was satisfaction in witnessing the natural consequences of her choices. Jessica's lips parted as if she wanted to speak but didn't know how. She was used to having the upper hand, used to believing her decisions were unchallengeable. Now, she was staring at the reality she ignored. The man she left behind had quietly become indispensable. I greeted another guest, guiding them to their suite with a calm efficiency that contrasted sharply with Ryan's flustered attempts to assist nearby. Your room is ready, and we've prepared a welcome basket for your stay. Please enjoy. Thank you so much, the guest said warmly. You've really made this experience memorable. Jessica's gaze followed every movement. I didn't confront her, didn't boast. My success was my message, louder than any words. Emma whispered softly. They all notice. The way you handle stress, the way guests and staff trust you, it's remarkable.
Nice.
I smiled faintly, letting her words sink in. Let them see quietly. Marcus nudged my shoulder. Watch her. This is the moment she understands what she gave up. Don't ruin it by saying anything. I observed Jessica as she discreetly scrolled through her phone, probably checking her social media. She saw posts praising my initiative, highlighting guest satisfaction, and noting Ryan's minor mistakes. Each notification added weight to the realization forming in her mind. Impressive. She muttered under her breath, though not to me. I didn't respond. Silence carried more impact than any reply I could give. The look in her eyes told me she was counting the months, wondering how she misjudged me. That pang of regret was mine to savor quietly. A staff member approached me. Mr. Daniels, the VIP guests wanted to personally thank you again before they left. I nodded, guiding them through a few final details. Jessica watched, shifting uncomfortably, realizing she had no control, no influence over the admiration I now commanded. Ryan muttered something about needing to manage another issue, but his words were hollow. He glanced at me briefly, frustration clear in his eyes. Jessica noticed it too. She started, voice wavering. I gave her a polite smile, never breaking my composure. It's all good. Everything's under control. Enjoy your evening. She hesitated, searching for something to say, some way to diminish the growing tension. But there was nothing. My presence, competence, and calm had already spoken louder than words. Marcus whispered, "Let her simmer. This is the payoff. Understand exactly what she lost." Emma nodded beside me. The best part? She can't do anything to change it now. I allowed myself a quiet exhale, feeling the victory settle in, not the loud, boastful kind, but the patient, quiet triumph that comes from turning setbacks into power. Jessica lingered for a moment longer, watching staff exchange smiles with me, seeing guests leave satisfied and noticing Ryan's repeated attempts to regain authority fail. Her shock was palpable, simmering like a storm she couldn't command. Finally, she stepped back, excusing herself politely, the tension radiating from her in waves. She hadn't said a word, but she didn't need to. The silent message was clear. I had risen, unshaken, and my success spoke for itself. I turned to Marcus and Emma. Marcus gave a small, triumphant nod. Emma smiled subtly, pride in her eyes. Let her wonder, I said quietly. No confrontation, no explanation. Just the truth of what she lost. The hotel lobby returned to calm as the evening continued, but a new dynamic had settled. Ryan was faltering, Jessica was unsettled, and I was firmly in my place, quietly unshakable, confident, and indispensable, and that was enough. I was at the front desk, reviewing the night's bookings, when I noticed Jessica approaching. Her heels clicked against the lobby floor, deliberate confidentor, so she wanted to appear. Marcus, I muttered under my breath, glancing at him. He gave a subtle nod, knowing what was about to happen. Jessica stopped a few feet away, forcing a smile. I wanted to talk, she said, voice wavering just slightly. I didn't reply immediately. I simply continued typing, letting her words hang in the air. Silence has a way of showing power. Are you really running things here? She asked, eyes scanning the lobby, taking in. I arrived at the hotel early, as usual, and immediately noticed the subtle changes. Ryan's office had been downsized, and a stack of reassignment papers sat on his desk. The memo made it official. He was being moved to less critical tasks. I didn't smile, at least, not outwardly, but inside, satisfaction simmered. Karma, quiet and precise. Had a way of balancing the scales without me lifting a finger. Marcus appeared at my side, coffee in hand. Looks like someone's finally realizing who's in charge, he murmured, voice low enough that only I could. Here I nodded, taking the coffee. It's not about me. It's about letting the universe handle the lessons. He grinned, elbowing me lightly. You didn't even have to intervene. Exactly, I said. I didn't need to gloat. I just kept doing my job. Let the work speak. It's always stronger than words. Just then, Jessica walked in. She paused near the front desk, watching the morning bustle. I could see the mix of admiration and regret in her eyes. She clearly wanted to approach me, perhaps to explain herself or to seek some connection, but I remained focused on my tasks, typing up schedules and reviewing reports. Emma, standing near the lobby console, leaned in. She's noticing, isn't she? I didn't answer immediately. I preferred letting her realize it herself. She is, I admitted softly, and she's realizing she has no control here. That's more satisfying than any confrontation. Could be. Jessica finally spoke, voice quiet and uncertain. You've done so much. I didn't think. I kept my tone calm, professional, almost neutral. Jessica, I've done what I set out to do. It's not for revenge, not to prove you wrong, but to build a life I can be proud of. That's all. Her lips trembled, but she didn't push further. The staff nearby glanced at her, then back at me. They'd been observing the subtle shifts for weeks now, the way I handled complaints, managed operations, and inspired respect without ever needing to raise my voice. Ryan entered the lobby, shoulders tense, face tight with frustration. He muttered something under his breath, clearly directed at me, but no one around seemed to notice. His usual air of superiority was gone, replaced with cautious avoidance. Marcus leaned closer, whispering, "He's humbling fast. I can almost see him realizing he overplayed his hand." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. Let him learn quietly. Oh. Public embarrassment is fleeting. The lesson sticks better when it's internal. Jessica's voice was barely above a whisper now. I never realized how much you could handle, how capable you are. I finally looked up, meeting her eyes. I never needed your recognition. Jessica, I needed my own resilience, my own focus, and my own decisions to guide me. That's what matters. She swallowed hard, her gaze flickering to Ryan and him. He's learning, I said softly, slowly, quietly in his own way. No lectures necessary. Actions speak louder than any argument. Emma, who had been silently observing, smiled faintly. You've done all of this without losing yourself. That's what makes it different. You didn't stoop, you just rose. I took a breath, allowing the weight of her words to settle. Exactly. Revenge, if it happens at all, should be subtle, complete, and silent. Let them feel the consequences of their own choices. Marcus grinned, and they're feeling it. Look at Ryan's face right now. He's realizing you've outgrown his attempts to intimidate. And Jessica, she's realizing she can't reclaim what she lost. I allowed myself a brief, controlled smile. It's enough. I don't need validation from them. The satisfaction comes from knowing I stayed true to myself even when everything seemed against me. Jessica's lips parted, as if to speak again, but I didn't look at her. I continued reviewing the day's schedules, making notes, confirming that every detail was perfect. Her hesitation spoke volumes. She wanted interaction, perhaps an apology, perhaps a chance to reclaim some control, but she found none. Ryan, on the other hand, muttered under his breath, frustrated shuffling papers. He avoided eye contact, clearly aware of the subtle hierarchy that had shifted beneath him. He had pride, yes, but now it was tempered by humility he hadn't asked for. Marcus nudged me again. You've got this. Just keep calm. Let them see you don't need to push. The recognition comes naturally. Emma nodded. Exactly. You've built this step by step. The respect, the authority, it's yours because you earned it, not because you demanded it. Jessica finally spoke again, quieter this time. I can see now. I made a mistake. I didn't look at her. Yes, you did, but that's your realization to carry. I don't need to comment, to justify, or to acknowledge. It's enough that you see it for yourself. Her shoulders slumped slightly. She wanted words, reactions, maybe even reconciliation. But I had long since learned that silence is sometimes more powerful than any confrontation. I had been left behind once, underestimated. And now the universe was delivering the payoff quietly, naturally. Marcus chuckled softly. She's staring, hoping for something. You're giving her nothing. Perfect. I allowed a small, controlled smirk. Nothing more needs to be given. The work, the results, the respect I've earned there enough. They speak louder than anything I could say. Ryan shuffled toward a back office, defeated, muttering excuses to anyone who would listen. His credibility had been eroded quietly, meticulously, by the very standards he once ignored. Emma whispered, It's satisfying to see justice handled this way. No theatrics, no shouting, just natural consequence. I nodded. Karma doesn't need me to intervene directly. I simply need to live well, act with integrity, and let time reveal the truth. That's all it takes. Jessica lingered a moment longer, eyes wide, before finally turning and walking away. Her presence faded, leaving only the acknowledgement of her loss, her regret, and the unmistakable proof that she could no longer influence the life she once abandoned. Marcus exhaled. That's it. That's the moment. You didn't have to fight, argue, or scream. You just were yourself. And that was enough. Took a deep breath, surveying the lobby. Staff moved efficiently. Guests smiled, and the hotel hummed with calm, confident energy. The balance had shifted completely. Emma leaned slightly toward me. You've earned this. Not just the respect, but the peace of knowing you're in control. They can't touch that. I allowed a final quiet smile. Exactly. Control isn't about power over others. It's about mastery over yourself, your choices, and your response to the world. That's something no one can take away. And in that quiet, deliberate moment, I finally understood the true weight of accomplishment, independence, and karmic justice. I arrived at the hotel early, as usual, the quiet hum of the lobby greeting me like an old friend. The morning light streamed through the glass doors, illuminating polished floors and attentive staff bustling about. I paused a moment, breathing it in. This was my world now, built piece by piece, night by night. And it felt mine. Marcus appeared at my side, coffee in hand, as if he knew I needed his company. "Oh, you're up early," he said, smirking. Always, I replied, taking the cup. Some things don't wait for anyone. Opportunities, responsibilities, life. He nodded, sensing more in my tone than mere routine. You've come a long way. From that night, everything after let out. A soft chuckle. Yeah, that night. When everything fell apart? I'd be lying if I said I didn't replay it in my head 1,000 times. You should have, he said. It made you who you are. Look at you now. Running this place, respected, capable, let his words linger. And finally, untouchable. I smiled faintly, stirring my coffee. Untouchable isn't the goal. Being in control of myself, that's the victory. Emma walked over then, a subtle smile on her face. Morning, she said quietly. I overheard your conversation. Good morning, I replied. I was just reflecting, thinking about how far we've come. She nodded, glancing around the lobby. It's more than just the hotel. It's the staff, the environment, the respect you command without demanding it. That takes real skill. I shrugged, though a small prideful warmth spread through me. It took nights of planning, sleepless hours, mistakes, and patience. I learned a lot from failing silently, observing and knowing when to act and when to hold back. Marcus leaned against the desk, raising an eyebrow. And the emails? I assume she's reaching out again. Smirked slightly, pulling out my phone. Sure enough, a message from Jessica sat in the inbox. Subject line simple. Can we talk? I didn't open it immediately. I let it sit there, unread. She wants closure, Marcus said softly. Doesn't she? Closure is hers to seek, I replied. I don't need it. I already have mine. It comes from knowing I survived, I thrived, and I'm no longer the person she underestimated. Emma crossed her arms, tilting her head. It must be tempting, though, to reply. To hear her words, maybe feel some satisfaction. I shook my head. No. Silence is louder than any reply. She realized the truth in her own time. That I moved on, that I succeeded, and that I'm not waiting for her validation anymore. Marcus grinned. Perfect. Let her stew in her realization. No need to remind her verbally. Actions, results, and life choices, they speak louder. I set the phone aside, focusing on the day's tasks. Guest schedules, staffing updates, event planning. Each small action reminded me that my life wasn't dictated by anyone's past judgment. I was the architect now. Emma leaned in closer, voice quieter. You've changed, really. Not just professionally, personally. You're calmer, sharper. The man who was left behind, he's gone. And that man wouldn't recognize what you've become.